Hey guys. So here's the part 2 of the Insane Disasters command creation. Previously I showed you the tornado disaster. And for today, it will be the acid rain disaster. But before proceeding any further into this video, if you haven't watched yet the part 1 of this Insane Disaster command series, I would suggest that you watch it first. I'll leave the link to that video in the video description. Anyways, time to activate the acid rain disaster. So just like from the previous video, a disaster will occur every 5 to 10 minutes, which you could modify the time if you want. Since we have now 2 disasters available, every 5 to 10 minutes, a tornado or an acid rain will be summoned. We have talked about the tornado disaster previously, so let me explain to you this acid rain disaster. When the acid rain is active, you will see this green particles falling from the sky. All entities in the vicinity of the acid rain will get poisoned. But besides that, entities that get exposed to the acid rain for too long are going to have different effects. If an entity has been exposed in the acid rain for more than 5 seconds, they will get slow effect. And if they got exposed for more than 10 seconds, they will get nausea. And after 15 seconds of exposure, entities will going to have a much stronger slow effect. Then, after 20 seconds of exposure, their screen will gradually turn into green. This will only affect players though. Then, after 25 seconds, players will faint and will not gonna be able to move. 5 seconds after the player fainted, they will going to take fatal poison damage for 20 seconds, which is most likely would kill the player or entity. But if somehow they manage to survive after 20 seconds of being fainted, they would finally get to recover, and the entity's exposure will be reset. By the way, even if the acid rain is over, once the player or entity fainted, they will still going to take fatal poison damage, since they've been exposed to the acid rain for a long time already. If a player died from the acid rain, the player's exposure will be reset. But if you think this disaster is kinda overpowered, there are multiple ways to avoid its effects. First, you can easily take cover inside a house, so that you won't get exposed to the acid rain. Or you could just place any kind of block on top of you. Or you can just run outside the vicinity of the acid rain, since acid rain has a range of 50 blocks in all sides. Although the last option is risky, so I would suggest that you use the other 2 options that I mentioned instead. Also, even if an entity was able to take cover after being exposed in the acid rain for a moment, that doesn't mean that the entity's exposure will be reset, which means entities are still going to take the additional effects when they reach a certain exposure amount. Now let me tell you how I came up with this. So first thing I thought of is using an armor stand as the acid rain drops. And what I really want is to apply effects on an entity only if they get hit by the armor stand. However, as you can see, the chances that the armor stand could hit an entity is very low. So, I decided to reduce the spread range of the armor stands to see if it can now hit me. Well, apparently, still no. I also thought of making it to summon more armor stands so that its chances to hit an entity will be increased. But apparently, my PC can't handle too much armor stands, and if I had more armor stands, this creation might not going to be low, mid, and device friendly. So I looked for other methods, and then I asked myself, what if I use poison arrow instead of armor stand as the acid rain? I even asked ChatGPT if the arrow would cause less lag compared to armor stand, and it says yes. However, when I tested it, it's still kinda laggy, and I still got the same issue. The arrows rarely hit an entity. So in the end, I decided to go back on using the armor stands, but their only purpose is as a green particle effects and as the range indicator as well. Also, if you're wondering why I didn't make it rain when the acid rain is active, it is because of this. If I added rain during acid rain, the particle effects is kinda not visible, so rain is ruining the visual effects of the acid rain. Just in my opinion though, and that's why I didn't mix it with the normal rain. I also want to add a fog command instead, but I don't think there's a command for a color green fog. So, I decided not to add a fog as well. Anyways, once the disaster timer runs out, the acid rain will be summoned on a random player's location in the overworld. By the way, it can't target players that has an admin tag, and players with that tag are immune to any effects of the acid rain. And same as the tornado, it can't target players that are in different dimension other than overworld. Now here, if you want to modify the range of the acid rain drop, you can modify that here. But if you modify this, you would also need to modify some commands as well. Let's say I'll add 10 blocks on its range. After adjusting, you should also adjust the range of the sound effect. Since I added 10 blocks on the acid rain drop range, I just need to add 10 blocks on X, DX, Z and DZ coordinates. Ignore the negative sign, just add the same amount you added on the acid rain drop range command. Then do the same on other range commands, including the level exposure commands except first level and 7th level exposure. Now if you have noticed, the acid rain drop particles isn't really that high. I made it this way to reduce lag. But if you want, you can modify the height of spawn point of the acid rain drop here. But take note, if you set its spawn point at a much higher coordinate, it may increase lag, but if you reduce its height, it will reduce lag. Now here you can modify the duration of the acid rain. You can change it to how long you want the acid rain to stay. Also, if you are getting really laggy because of this command, the greatest factor that you can adjust to reduce lag is this. All you need to do is disable this first command tower, and then set up a structure block with a 1x1 bounding box. You can just copy this setup. And make sure that you enable the remove blocks setting. When an acid rain is active, it will produce 5 armor stands per tick as the acid rain drop. So to reduce lag, try summoning for armor stands here for now. Now add acid_rain_drop tag to all of them. Then make them invisible. Alright, then save them under the name acid_rain_drop. Then just kill the armor stands and test it. If you still think it's laggy, then repeat the process but reduce the armor stand to 3, 2 or 1 armor stand only. Alright, so yeah, I hope you love this creation, and if you want to check it, the structure file of this command creation will be available after 3 days. So you better be in my Discord server in order to download this. And speaking of Discord server, you can join simply by clicking the link in the video description. So yeah, before I end this video, I would like to mention my lovely channel members. They're growing and growing. Thank you for all of your support that you're giving to this channel. And may all of you have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.